Hey everyone, so I was able to save a business coaching company weeks of friction for each client that they onboarded, and today I'll show you exactly how I did that using Lovable and n8n so that by the end you can do the exact same. Now I'll first walk through a demo of the working product, and then following that I'll show you how we were able to help them with the solution in the first place by showing the benefits. And then from that point, I will break down the technical build itself, and then by the end, you'll be able to understand and access all of my free templates using the link that I leave for you in the description. So going into this demo over here, what we can see is a couple of things. Firstly, we're going to trigger this workflow over here. We're going to trigger the email. So we're going to expect an email coming from us talking about the email summary. And then we're going to update our CRM, which as you can see, we've got a couple projects here, but we have to know which project to update. So this is the app here, the interface where we're going to be recording our meeting. Usually these meetings are in person, so that's the context of this use case. Now, if I click record meeting, I can just click this button over here, and then I can talk to my client or prospect that is getting onboarded. So this meeting can either be about something that they need to fill out to actually be onboarded with us. So a lot of times, businesses want to know what systems people use, the tech stack, maybe some, tax information even, or the business code. That is definitely a huge situation in New Zealand where I'm from. So in this case, we can actually be talking to our prospect in this dummy meeting and telling them that they need to fill out the form that we send them. That's going to contain all the information about the onboarding that we need to know. And we need to do that prompto, otherwise we won't actually be able to help them out or start the project or whatever it is. And as you can see, we have our to-do list over here. So we don't have any projects started yet. So we have this to-dos list over here. And, that's the case that they're pretty much saying to this client right now as we're recording our meeting. If they don't sign the form, then we can't go on to start the project, okay? So we're just going to pause that. We're going to switch on our workflow over here. We're just going to click test workflow. And now what we're going to do is we're going to proceed with the following. So first we've got to talk about the particular lead that we are updating, and we can see we got a couple over here. We're going to update the One Fitness client that we have onboarded. So over here we can just go click One Fitness. And then from this point, we've got a whole bunch of people that we might actually want to send this to. This can be any, executive that is in the meeting, needing to know about all this stuff. So I'm just going to send this to myself. From this point, we can proceed. And then the meeting summary can either be focused on next actionable steps or a broad meeting summary if there isn't actually something that we expect people to do. But since we have told this prospect here in this meeting that we need them to fill out that form so we can properly onboard them, we do need the agent to fill out a few steps, and we're just going to click next actionable steps. We're going to send that recording. As you can see, we are going through with our webhook over here, so our workflow is progressing. But the Anthropic chat model has used all of the tools to search projects, send emails with the summaries and all of that, and we can do a few checks over here. So the first check is the output that I originally told you. We can see that we have just updated that in real time. We are into a waiting stage. We are waiting for the prospect to fill out that form rather than just going with the done section over here. And at the same time, we have just received an email talking about the entire summary with the form that we need to fill out. And we can just go into this. It's a fill out form. And then this is the exact information that we were just talking about in that recording. So I know that a lot is happening right now, but what I want to touch on that is really important, that is pretty much the 80% of this whole, setup, is this email summary. So for in-person meetings, this is perfect. This is not just like another auto AI or anything like that, because it actually takes actions within your CRM at the same time and sends, actionable information like this forms here that needs to be filled out, okay? So the content that we are doing and sending in this email is going to be a summary regarding these actionable steps, just like this AI has summarized over here in this email. So the number one thing that we have established is to complete the form, which obviously I said in the recording you just heard. It has emphasized my point that we cannot proceed with starting the project until the form is completed. And then also the timeline, it has talked about, once the form is submitted, the team will review information within 1 to 2 business days. This comes from the prompting from the agent. And then we obviously have another point that the AI decided to pull in, which was, that point about the credentials, the tech stack. So it has summarized everything, transcribed it, and then summarized it. And then it's even done like just additional point. It said here, as discussed in our meeting, the custom meeting notes recorded solution was significantly reduced. Admin workload, tuning what is typically an hour work per meeting into a 10-second task. And just all this stuff that we literally just said in this recording that the AI was able to even label over here. So it's very complete. And so we're going to go through the implications of this right now. So for this particular company here, I put in a before and after sort of situation here for you to understand what we were actually able to do for them. So off the back of these, initial kickoff calls to onboard clients, originally what they had was, boring email being presented to them saying, okay, this is the information that we need. They did have, links and forms to be sent out, but they just weren't presented in a nice way for the client to see. And this was coupled with, just not being able to be presented that fast when the email was sent out. So this was too long and then also very boring. And this just created like no urgency for it to get done by the client so the client could be onboarded. And obviously, if you couple all these three together, you'll see that the result was a lot of friction and slowness. Oops, that's right as well. And a lot of slowness in the onboarding process because there were so many factors standing in the way between the client and the actual project start, which was the information that the business coaching company needed to get started. Okay. And so what we did for them over here was this onboarding SaaS that you've just seen. We were, afterwards, we were able to send out these personalized emails that are obviously not boring when they appeal to the specificity of the meeting that they have just, recorded and gone through with the business coaches. And it is done immediately. So as you can see, we can send them straight away to many people at once. I didn't show you that part, but we can send it to many people at once if we need be, all the executives and people involved with these action items. And what these action items allow them to do is that we allow to hold accountability for those people to complete those tasks. And so that's what creates that urgency, because it is very clear and immediately, established following the meeting. And the result of that is obviously a fast communication, which leads to a speed to start factor taking place, which, it's just a domino effect. So clients are onboarded faster, the project starts faster, and everything else is more seamless, and the experience overall is better from that, small tweak that we added in at the very start. Okay, great. So what we've pretty much done is we've just shown you the demo and the actual benefits for this particular company. Now let's go through the build breakdown and how we were able to do this. So what I'll start with is showing you the prompting that I made within the Lovable. So you can see that this is not very long at all. It probably took me a few minutes to replicate what I did for them. If you don't know Lovable, it is a no code, what is called vibe coding right now in the market, where you can just put in a prompt into an AI and it codes you like this entire SaaS around it, or micro SaaS is what's being called right now, and which allows you to do many different things in many different ways. What I do and what we do within our agency is we connect it to AI agents within platforms such as n8n to then really boost the ability and the applications of these micro SaaSes with AI integrated in it as well, which is what makes this really powerful. So just going through this prompt over here, there is a few things to go through, and then I'll just rattle through some of the points in between as well. So first here, I say that to create a sleek and futuristic mobile-friendly voice recording app that records meeting and sends it to the webhook URL displayed below. So this is obviously the webhook URL that I have over here. What I have over here that you can't see because it was a while ago is I just had a few different layouts and themes from Pinterest, and I just said, hey, make this adhere to that. So I say that somewhere here in a prompt. I say that the app should have the screen recording the audio, the screen asking to who to send it to. So the fields in the screen should include the first name of that person, followed by the designated email. So this is an option to attach multiple recipients, and we do that with a plus to add a new row, which is the feature that I didn't show you, but it's there. Thirdly, here we have a page with a button for the user to choose the conversation style that need to be sent to the webhook with focus on the following options. So it's either going to be actionable steps, broad meeting summary, specific topics. I later got rid of this, and then a button at the very bottom to say send it the recording, which sends the recording to the webhook. And then finally here we have a success page that says the audio file has been sent to the webhook with a cool effect in between. And then finally in the notes, we say that the app should be completely branded and the colors and the logos attached. So this is what I was talking about over here, including the favicon. So if you notice over here, the AI made it really small. So Lovable made this really small, but this is actually the logo of this InnoTech logo that I put in from Pinterest as well. So that's pretty cool. And I said you should also include a sleek landing page with a wavy feel followed by a record meeting button. And then the button that leads the user from a page should say proceed. So, very basic, and Lovable, did a whole bunch of stuff just from this one prompt. Here I had some troubleshooting to do. So the webhook wasn't actually in that post mode. So over here, it was in that get function. So that's why that wasn't working. So that wasn't even Lovable's mistake. That was my end. So once we worked through that, just a little back and forth here, I just tweaked it saying, make the logo 3 times bigger, which it did, and then just making it prettier. But as you can see, we had like 90% of it done. What did I do here? So the information here was making sure that it was sending it in the right schema, which I'll show you guys in a second how we actually send and receive that data in the n8n over here. But, just from that one prompt, and I'll leave this down in the description as well for you guys to copy into your own use cases and stuff. It's just that main prompt followed by a few back and forths to tweak it, make it better. And essentially here I just have like a few bit more troubleshooting. Sometimes Lovable does make mistakes, but essentially with a few messages you can get to the same point. And again, hugely powerful, and I hope you guys make a lot of cool stuff with that. Okay, so moving on, we have the n8n system. So this is once the Lovable records the meeting, we have that proceed button or the send button that actually sends the file to the webhook. What we have is a couple things here going on. So we have the schema that I asked for, which is obviously all of these headers here, but then we have that schema. So it didn't send everything as a mappable way, so which is why I have this code step over here. But depending on how you prompt your Lovable, it might just send stuff that is you're able to map. But we have the schema here where we are able to map stuff into our workflow, and then followed by that we have a binary file. So this is the audio file that we have just made and recorded. So if I download this, I would be able to listen to it right now, but I'm not going to. And then what we do here is, well, first we clean it up with that schema. You have access to this code as well, but pretty much I just asked AI using this step here saying, hey, can you parse all of this information that's coming in from that schema? So I fed it specifically this over here, and this contains all the information that we need, from the name to the person sending the receiving the email, to the focus of the summary that we want from the agent, and we're just passing all of that information, which sees this output over here. So this is this over here that we can then map, and you can see we got the lead name that we want, all this sort of information that's going to be important in the next steps to come. Following that, we have a DeepGram mode. DeepGram is a speech-to-text AI that is responsible for transcribing the entire conversation. You can just copy this whole thing, but if you don't have a token with DeepGram, all that you need to do is go to DeepGram, and then from there you get a page that looks a little bit like this. You can probably sign in, and then from that you'll be able to access an API key. Once you've done that, then you can get a token. This token is invalid, but you can create a new token. You have this entire schema and body that you need to copy. And then over here, we are just referencing the n8n binary file. So that's the key point that I'll touch on here at this node, is that we are referencing the file that comes in from the webhook that we are just mapping as audio. So it's different to schemas, to JSON schemas. For binary files that we want to reference, we just say the name of the file, and then we send that over to the API request. So in this case, DeepGram transcribes the entire thing. It's got huge memory, so you got plenty of room for entire, long meetings. And then once we have transcribed it, you can see the output of DeepGram is just the transcript over here. And then that leads us to our agent. Okay, so there's a few things going on in our agent. I'll rattle through this because I don't want it to take too long or either confuse you. But we've got a prompt over here talking about what we want the agent to do. Okay, so I say, you are a meeting assistant who specializes in performing designated tasks following the meeting transcripts that you are given. So you have a knack for being precise and professional at all times. So the job of this agent is to receive the transcript of the meeting and listen to the user's request of the email of the person they would like to send it to. From that point, it will update the CRM from the business's point of view to include these notes as well. And then it uses execute tools accordingly to do that. And these tools that it has access to is a few. So firstly, it searches for the project within Airtable, which in this case is our CRM, obviously. And that is responsible for finding the project that the client, with the client's details within the CRM. So once we've done that, then we can send the email, which is responsible for sending the email to the designated people with the contents of the transcripts as well as the documents attached within the CRM. So what we're doing is we're actually pulling in all the information that we do have on them from that CRM, so before the project has started, and then we are updating it using the update tool. But then at the same time, when we search it, we are retrieving all the related documents to that client, and then we are appending it to our email with the summary. So this should actually be summary over here. Good thing that the AI understands it. And then that's pretty much the 80-20 of it. I've got a long as example here telling it the way it should write and all of the actions that it should take. But either way, you have access to this prompt, so you can pause the video and go through it, or you can download it and then tweak it to your particular use case. I'm not going to go through the whole thing again because it is very confusing, but that is a system message. And then from that point, we have the user message, which is always where we feed it the live data of what is happening. So we firstly say, this is what you do. And then we say, this is the information that you got to, deal with. So then we got all of these mappable fields. So the send to is the value of the person to send it to. And you can see on this right side of the n8n tab over here, we can see the active data that we're dealing with. Now over here, I am using an Anthropic chat model. It is the 3.7 Sonnet, just because I think the writing style is way better to ChatGPT when it's outputting emails as opposed to, internal tasks, which is what this agent is more leaning towards. Then I definitely prefer Anthropic. Then we are giving it the email tools. The way you connect it is you have to sign in with Google. It's relatively easy. Now, the way you connect Airtable is you go into Airtable over here. You have to click Builder Hub, and then from Builder Hub, you have to make a new personal access token, which is where you give the permissions that n8n instructs you with. And then from that point, you just paste it back into n8n. So if I wanted to make a new one, I just click this, and then access token here is what you generate from that tab that I just showed you, okay? Now, with that being said, we have got the couple of Airtable nodes over here to go through. The first one is the search project tool, which we are toggling the database that we are going through. So the base is obviously the n8n agent meeting database. And by the way, I'll go through the Airtable in a second as well. And then the tab that we want to go through is projects. Now, the only reason I got CRM in here is just for you to see that the distinction between the clients that are one. So obviously the one fitness dude would not be in the projects tab if he wasn't closed. And that is the distinction, because it allows me to say that these guys cannot be in the projects tab because they aren't closed clients yet. Okay, so there's that distinction for you to understand. Other than that, you can just ignore that CRMs tab. But we are referencing that projects tab, which is the one leads. And then what we're doing here is we are filtering by formula. So this means if the Airtable finds anyone that has the first name of the lead that we contact, so this means that you don't have to necessarily have the exact one fitness over here. As long as it contains some of the lead information, maybe you title your leads as like one fitness, Daniel, which is the one of the executives that you're talking to, okay? And that's completely fine, because it's just going to return anything that contains one fitness, which helps us with our search. It makes it a lot more flexible. We return all of the items that are related to that search, which gives us the isolated and the accurate response of the output of one fitness and all the information that we got on them. And so once we search that project, we get this entire tab here. So this is probably a better view. Once I click on it, we can see the status, the current status, the attachments. So this is going to be really important in a second. The project feed, just stuff that the AI can familiarize itself with, and you can do more stuff about this data once you actually download the template. But we're getting all this information that the AI has access to. And then from that point, so we are going to use this particular attachments link, because the AI will decide whether or not it is required to send to our meeting summary. And so from this point, since in our transcript, it contains information that we need to send to the client here, that they need to receive this form, the AI is going to take that into consideration when it creates the subject and the email type and all of that stuff and sends it to the client, okay? And then we see how that reflects into what the agent decides to do in the message itself. Aside from that, you can see that it comes up with its own subject line, and then it knows who to send it to because we map that into the prompt as well. Okay, so once it's done those two things, remember we're going step by step according to the prompt so that you guys understand as well. So now we have searched for the projects, we know the details, we send the required details based on the meeting transcript and the information that we have on them based on the Airtable, right? So the CRM. And now that we've done those two, we can now update it saying, hey, like based on the ID, so this is the ID that we again know from the Airtable search project tool. We can then come back over here, we can match it by this ID, and then we can just give it any extra project notes that can come from the meeting, which the AI happily updates. And then the status either going to be waiting or going to be in progress. So the way that I map this here is I have a from AI, and the status is either going to be waiting for the client to fill in the form, or we are going to just say in progress if the meeting says anything regarding, okay, we're good to go, this project is just ready to start right now. So this helps the AI to understand what to do in the particular scenario, which makes us, again, very, very flexible. And that is one of the things that I wanted to touch on here. Once we make this transformation, the additional benefit that this has is that it updates the CRM in real time, which makes this a lot more seamless. And then, as you may understand right now, if you're enjoying the video so far, is that what could have taken weeks was done in seconds. That's a bad box over there, but you understand the huge implications of the solution, okay? Now I'm going to show you the Airtable that makes this all possible. All I do here is I just have a grid followed by, the name, the project description, the project notes, and the statuses. These are the statuses that the AI is able to have access to. When we are looking to update a project, we are specifically looking for the to-do, because obviously that is like the more rational thing to look for. We're not going to look for anything done or anything. We are automatically going to move this Kanban all the way over here, which is how it was able to move like that. And the way that I have these different views is I just create new, and then I have the Kanban here. And these are obviously organized by the status that we have just mentioned, okay? So then from there, we got the attachments, which I just have a fill out forms. I don't need to go over that. I think you can figure out how to make a fill out forms yourself, but that's just a link to that fill out forms, which the AI can extract and then send to the designated client. But essentially, this is the view that you want to be using, where you have all these different clients. The reason I put one real estate in there, it was to show that the AI actually chooses the correct one. It doesn't go with the only one that's there. It can correctly distinct between the different ones because we put in that client name way back into the success page of the interface as well. So essentially that is it for the video today. As mentioned before, everything has been templated for you for free, so you can download it using the link in the description. If you need help with the build itself, you can comment down below and I'll make sure to reply. Other than that, I hope this helped.